All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing tonight on this wonderful December the 15th? I am so excited to finally be doing another SeaQuest stream after the past, three? Has it been a month since the last one of these I did?
Almost.
It's been ridiculous, and I do apologize, guys. The good news is I am going to be redoing my streaming schedule a little bit so that we can do these every week instead of every other week, as long as, barring acts of God or other or other natural disasters. But I'm excited that we get to start doing this again. And also, I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. I did see Professor Brainy Specs was in here at 5:57 shortly after I got this scheduled, saying greetings, Life with Matthew and John DiMarco. How are you doing, Professor Brainy Specs? Springtime was in the house saying hello, a little more close at 7:46. Excuse me. And then Professor Brainy Specs was back. Thomas Potts was here briefly, saying, I'm not having a good night, extremely stressed out, so I won't be watching. Have a good night. Well, I am so sorry to hear that, Thomas. I hope that, I know it's been, I'd say almost an hour. We kind of round in my family. It's been 45 minutes. I hope that maybe you're feeling a little less stressed. And I promise, if you are watching this and lurking, I will say Lucas tonight in the hopes that you get to hang out with us instead of my usual Lewis. I know how that can aggravate some people. I do it to be fun, but I don't want to ostracize anyone if that'd be a little too much for them. And I'll also say this, John, I don't know how you're doing right now, but I gotta admit, this whole election stuff has me really frustrated. Uh, mainly just mainly because of the way YouTube has responded, to be honest. The fact that they are trying to slap down anyone who thinks it's a fraud, and just saying that puts me on the chopping block. Their policy is that anyone who talks about the potential of fraud, they're going to have their videos taken down. And you know, I think I'd be a lot less frustrated if everyone stopped saying ridiculous things like there's no evidence of fraud, because there's lots of evidence of fraud. It's just the question is, would it be enough to overturn the election? And I think if people are just honest about that, I'd be a whole lot less frustrated. Like,
Yes, I've noticed recently in the media, one of their favorite words to use is baseless. I see that word
yeah,
over and over. Like almost every article and news report, the word baseless is in there somewhere.
yeah,
It's
and
a
it's
new
so
catchphrase.
insane. And it's like, well, what about in just Michigan by itself? What about that uptick that in order for Biden to get that many votes, the counting machines would have to count at a rate faster than they are capable of counting at. And it's like, okay, maybe there's a legitimate reason for this, but investigate it, will you please? That's all I'm asking. Just investigate it, and then someone's gonna say, hey, you know what? You're right. That was faster. Here's what's really happened, and I'd go, okay, thank you. I appreciate your honesty. Or them being like, oh, hey, you know what? We did tell everyone to go home. We did tell everyone that, or excuse me, not go home, because that got fact checked. We did tell everyone that we were going to stop counting, and they could go home. And then once they did go home, we started counting again. So it's like, can we just be honest? And like I said, I do think at the end of the day, Biden's going to be the next president. I just want the due process to go through. I want people to be upfront and honest about, yeah, there were some fraud stuff. Yeah, there were some shenanigans stuff. And let's address that and make sure we don't have that in the future. And let's make sure that uh, everyone who voted, your vote counts. That's all I want. But like I said, I'm sure if that's stressing you, Thomas, then me talking about it probably wasn't helping you at all there. But the point is, that's frustrating to me as well. Uh, but at the end of the day, I hope that's not stressing you. You know, at the end of the day, God is sovereign. God will see us through, even if we have a bad president. And something I've been saying over the past 4 years is, even if Donald Trump makes an immoral choice, that doesn't mean I make an immoral choice. The president is not going to dictate to me how I have to behave. The president doesn't get to dictate my morality or my conscience. And I will continue to be kind and loving to people, no matter whose the president is or what they are enacting. not saying Trump did anything bad. I'm just saying that was a common refrain from people during his presidency, and that was my response. And so I hope it doesn't stress you out too much, Thomas, my friend. And I don't know I don't even know that's what's stressing you. I'm just saying, for me, that's what's frustrating to me right now. And then you add on top of that all this COVID nonsense, and it has me blowing a gasket sometimes. But Thomas, I hope you have that place where you can get some stress release, and I hope that's here. I hope it's here. I hope it's on Anti Trigger's channel. I hope that we don't have any drama going on that's keeping you away. Except Lewis. Me saying Lewis, that could probably totally drive you away.
Not to mention your discrimination against dolphins. I can imagine that could be stressful.
Yeah, and don't think I didn't notice your icon now, your avatar.
Yeah, Darwin just wanted to let you know he misses you.
Well, thankfully, this is not a very Darwin-centric episode. This is, however, a very Lucas-centric episode. So, I guess me deciding to call him Lucas tonight definitely would work in his favor and in Professor Brainy Speck's favor. Because I will only be calling him Lucas tonight. Just for you, Thomas. No idea if it even matters to you, but just for you, I'm going to talk about Lucas tonight. And hey to Bradley Briggs, didn't Anti-Trucker say he was going to do a stream tonight? I don't know. But it's okay. I mean, look, sometimes we stream over each other. We're all friends. We all do our best not to. But Anti-Trucker absolutely knows that when he gets to stream, he goes stream. And when I get a stream, I'm going to go stream. And it's okay if we overlap every once in a while. Thankfully, that's why I leave these streams up after I'm done with them. So that anyone who missed mine can come back, watch it, and have fun with us at that time. And Professor Brainy Specs is answering him, saying Anti-Trucker would try to. Okay, that's good. Springtime is saying, we are at Bird Alert 10. Somebody, possibly me, is spreading Joe Biden plug law rumors. I'm pretty sure he's afraid. Oh, Springtime. Well, if I'm not getting this stream taken down, that certainly will. Poor Joe. I honestly feel sorry for him. He's so old. He has early onset dementia. I feel sorry for the guy. I saw dementia take both of my two of my grandparents, and so I have sympathetic for him. Even though I disagree with him on probably everything, politically wise, I have sympathy for the man. Even if it turns out that he's a horrible traitor and has sold secrets to China and maybe the Ukraine, I don't know. I still have sympathy for him because it's rough to see the ravages of sin causing people to age and just the effects of the fall. I have sympathy for people and the effects of the fall. And YouTube is banning accounts solely on things they comment on videos now. Yep, it's true, Bradley. And, you know, let's be fair. YouTube has done this for a while. It's just they've kind of upped the ante with this whole, if you have doubt, your stream's getting taken down. Or not taking, your stream won't be taken down. It's just your video will be removed at a later date. So maybe once the stream is done, I should download it off YouTube so that if it disappears one day, I can upload just us talking and get rid of this opening monologue that we're doing. And people can still enjoy our live commentary. I'll do that. I will do that, everyone. I doubt YouTube's going to care about me. I do find it hilarious, though, that despite all the proof against Russian interference in 2016, you're still allowed to say Trump only won because of Russia interference. You're still allowed to talk about flat Earth, and you're still allowed to talk about lizard people. All that's fine, but just this one specific thing, that's too far for the YouTube's Ministry of Truth. Robert's saying, if all these social media platforms can get rid of Alex Jones, then what chance could little other broadcasters stand? You know, honestly, the only thing I can hope for is whenever I talk politics, which I try not to do. We're here for the nerd stuff, and I do try to stick to that. But whenever I do talk politics, my only saving grace is that I'm too small for YouTube to care about. Like seriously, YouTube's going to come to Little Life with Matthew and be like, oh, wow, this guy, he's the linchpin. He's the one we got to take down to get all the rest of it to stop talking about. No, that's. I don't think they're gonna care about me. Maybe they have some AI out there that will flag this, and if that happens, like I said, I'll download this. I'll clip out just the fun parts of us talking about the show, and we'll be fine. I'll re-upload and we'll be good. Uh, Professor Brainy Specs is saying that he was having a headache, but he had a cup of tea and is feeling much better. Oh wow, a cup of tea does sound good right now. A nice Earl Grey. That would be delicious. And I know that's such a stereotypical nerd thing to like, but I liked Earl Grey before it was a thing in TNG, I swear. It was the drink my mom and I always had late at night, which really is kind of a bad choice because Earl Grey is caffeinated, but it's what we drank. And I mean, I know caffeine doesn't really seem to affect me that way. Springtime wants me to just confess that I'm married to Darwin. Darwin from SeaQuest. No, not married to Darren, and certainly not married to Darwin either. And Professor saying lizards' life matter, Matthew. Yes, of course, lizards' life matter. You know, if you could, we gotta find some like triple M thing or triple L thing rather than lizard life matter. Something a little more catchy. It's all about that alliteration.
Lewis lives matter.
Yes, Lewis's life matters. What's another word instead of matters that starts with an L? Maybe. Are legit. I don't know. I'll have to think about this. I've been playing Scrabble Go with my wife on the phone, and oh, it kills my brain. I'm very dyslexic, and trying to put all those letters together, it kills me. I haven't won yet, but I have hope that I'll beat her on the next round. With which if Anti-Trigger was around, he'd be saying, "Oh, Matthew has hope he's going to beat his wife." Yes, yes, Professor Brainy Specs, clip it indeed. Well, guys, what do you say we go ahead and get this video going? Unless John, you want to talk about things going on with you right now, or thoughts about all this stuff in the world.
Nan's eager to get back into Darwin.
Oh yes, and if only this was a Darwin-centric episode, but thankfully this episode is all about Lucas.
Well, no episode is perfect.
And it's about Tim Russ.
That makes it even better.
And apparently Seth Green is in this episode. You know the Canadian guy who was he on the TV show that did pranks all the time?
I don't remember.
Jack Donkey, something like that.
Check that.
I think he was. I know he's a comedian. Wow. I know he's a Canadian comedian, and I want to say he was on the Jack Donkey show or like ran it or something. But apparently him and Tuvok are in this episode. So I have had, and you know what? No way. Not for this stream. I was going to say I was actually going to pin the link that you see right here, the cytu.be/r/LifeWithMatthew. If you go there, you can watch this with us live. And if you come and watch this afterwards, and the video is obviously going to be gone at that point, but if you come and watch this afterwards, you can still see this live, or you can still watch this along with us. You just have to sign up for Peacock TV, and they have all the SeaQuest episodes online for free right now. Sorry, I got that on the wrong screen there. So with that, you can either queue it up on Peacock TV, or you can go over to cy2.be/r/LifeWithMatthew and watch it at the exact same time and be synchronized with us. Or if you don't want to do either one of those things because maybe on your phone and you can only have one thing open at a time, we will have some clips right down here that you can watch along with us. Oh, and thank you, John, for putting that in the chat. And you know what? I am going to try this. I'm going to pin the message. There we go. So right at the top of the chat window, you will see that you can click on that and come to the live screening room with us, even if you show up a little bit late here.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, Cinnabon Bunny showed me the other day. He saw someone else doing it, and I'm like, well, that's great. I love this. So I'm gonna do this from now on. Whenever I'm pointing the wrong way, I'm not mirrored. Oh man. Okay, but I'm gonna do this now on whenever we do the SeaQuest streams and whenever I do the virtual pubs. That way, I'm not having to constantly spam the uh, the StreamYard link into the chat, but people can just come in as they want. So unfortunately, this is not a link to StreamYards, guys. This is just a link to the watch room, so we can all watch this together. And Professor Brainy Specs is saying Bird of Prey 5 is extremely tardy. He can't even make it on time to his own party. Bird just can't stop watching his favorite movie. He's watching Crystal Skull, so I can't see Deep Space Tuesday. Okay, Jeff, I saw that post on his Discord server also, saying that he was going to do a stream tonight. I think he messed up. I think he was trying to schedule tomorrow night's stream. Or does anyone have confirmation that he really meant to schedule that for tonight? Because usually he does Deep Space Nine Wednesdays. I'm pretty sure he messed up, which, you know, I've never messed up, so I get to throw all the stones I want. It's not like my first live stream video was me accidentally doing it because I meant to hit record and just click the wrong button. And it's not like apparently I did a live stream, what, 2 days ago, John?
Nah.
So I was testing out, for anyone who saw that live stream and then stuck around to hang out in the chat, I was testing out some features in StreamYard and OBS, or excuse me, Streamlabs and vanilla OBS. And it offers you to test your bitrate settings to see how much of your bandwidth can you use and still get a good signal for YouTube. So I was testing that out, and it said, hey, you want us to do just this little sample? I said, go for it. And I thought I was just going to go to like speedtest.net and kind of test things. No. It makes a stream to see how the video rate is. And it doesn't just make a live stream, it makes a public live stream. It's like, come on, at least make it private or unlisted. But that's not what they did. And so as a result, I did another unscheduled live stream. But at least this time I wasn't standing in front of everyone talking. I'm just glad I had pants on the first time. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And that's why I switched to Streamlabs for the record, because Streamlabs has the record and the go live buttons on two very different areas of the screen. Much better, much better. Well, guys, let's go ahead and start this. Everyone has had a chance to get to the cytube.be.blah blah 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 live screen area, and I'm also going to start the clips as we get going here. And as we get going, we see we see such elite hackery going on as a random guy puts on a glove with a circuit board on the back with lots of nice blinking lights and somehow uses that to bypass a hand scanner.
Sophisticated 2010 technology.
Oh, just the best. I am curious, like, how do they make that circuit board? Did they just grab a random circuit board and drill holes in it to put some LED lights through and then hook up batteries? Or did they actually have a board that they hooked things up to? Or like that just did that naturally? I'm really interested. But I do love this high-tech way of defeating a camera where he just hooks it and points it at the ceiling. Because if I was a security guard, I would not be at all suspicious by my camera suddenly pointing up. I'd be like, yeah, it happens. Must have been the janitor with a broom. I don't know. See, Robert Rose Jr. is saying, for any fans of The Office, I got an email yesterday from Peacock that they're going to be the exclusive streaming service for The Office. Wow. So our guy breaks in and then shoots this guy with, I don't know, it kind of looks like a microphone to me. And yes, springtime, that is what 2010 was like. So that was a flashback to the far off year of 2010. At the time when this was released, that was still 16, 17 years in the future, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And Dylan's hot topic is saying, "Hello, Matthew. How are you tonight?" "I'm good, thanks." "Will we have the virtual pub tomorrow night, Matthew?" That's something my wife and I are trying to figure out right now. I was planning on moving the virtual pub to Sunday night, and then we kind of have a schedule conflict. So I'm not sure if I'm just going to push the virtual pub back a little bit, or if we'll do the virtual pub on Wednesday night as usual, and just start Sunday night's virtual pub after Christmas. I'm not sure yet.
Yes. Admiral, there will be whales here.
I actually found out a really interesting thing. The space probe in Star Trek 4 that calls out to the whales, it was originally supposed to be the ship from a sci-fi novel called Rama, written by Arthur C. Clarke, I believe. But they kept failing to get the movie produced, and so they repurposed the prop into Star Trek 4. And poor Lucas, I feel sorry for him in this scene. Like the first time was his mistake. He walked right between two people talking, but then after that, he's just trying to stay out of the way and learn things. And somehow he just keeps running into everyone, and everyone's just getting completely frustrated with him being up on stage or on the bridge area. And finally, Ford just says, "Look, just stand over there behind the pool," and Darwin will be there in a minute anyway if he stands there. So he really should be there anyway. But then instead of obeying what Ford said, he just leaves off in kind of a dejected huff. And did they just mention Nolan Ryan? One of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
Indeed, they did.
Who was also a Texas Ranger, someone close to my heart. Now, not a Texas Ranger like you rode around on Cowboys Texas Ranger. Not a Texas Ranger like Walker Texas Ranger, but like on the baseball team called the Texas Rangers.
It's the internets.
They got close. But
One
no,
letter.
we kept it as the internet. And so, poor Lucas, he comes off to his Second Life video game, and he's looking for his friend Wolfman. I'm pretty sure that Wolfman is the Seth Green character. I'm not 100% sure on that. And Professor Brain Specs is saying that he thinks the virtual pub is not tomorrow. It's going to be moved to Sunday. Yeah, that's the plan. He says, "My mistake." No, you're right on. You're right on, Jeff. That is the plan. We'll see if I actually do that, or I think I'm still going to do that. I think we'll just start the pub at like 9:00 instead of my usual time. But Lucas is feeling very dejected, and his friend Wolfman suggests that if he's feeling that bad, maybe he should just start pushing back against anyone who's pushing him down. And so Bridger calls Lucas to the bridge because all he's doing is, tapping a tune out on his flippers.
As you do.
And Bridger's saying, "Well, why did you leave?" Because he was saying that he's the one who asked Lucas to be up on the bridge in the first place. And Lucas said, "Well, no one wanted me here." And he said, "Well, did you tell them I asked you to be here?" He goes, "No." But you find out that this facility needs a special module that apparently Apparently, all the major fiber optic lines across the Pacific are routed through this facility. They find out that in addition to the modules, they've also requested specifically Lucas come and join them. And Lucas is having none of it. He he's pissed, and he's saying, "Oh, sure, people only want me whenever there's a computer issue, but when you don't have a computer issue, no, 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 no. We're not doing this anymore. In fact, you know what? I want a salary, not just an allowance. I do work like everyone else on this ship, so it's time y'all give me a salary, and a good one at that. Because without me, nothing gets done." And Bridger's like, "Nothing?" And Robert is saying, "I know they're not canon, but the Star Trek book called Probe goes into more about where the probe came from. It even encountered the Borg. The Borg didn't win, of course." And here we get Tim Russ spotting a very early 90s mustache in the year 2010, complete with the 90s clothing. Guys, the 80s and 90s were such bad years for our clothing. I mean, just look at this. And poor Tim Russ, he has to talk like he's really hip throughout this episode. But we find out that this is such a weird facility. It's filled with young genius kids, like 16, 17, 18 age kids. And like this, they don't go there, but this place had such a cult vibe to me. I thought for sure we are going to find out that this was like a religious cult going on, which I guess they almost went there, but at the end of the day, that's not where it leads. And as Tuvok is doing his hand scan in, he gives his code name of Mycroft, and apparently this is a really big tip for Lucas. He realizes that Mycroft is one of the most famous hackers out there. And Springtime is saying, "So this is the 2010s internet. So very stupid. It was truly a dark age." Yeah, yeah, it was a rough time in 2010. Now, I do remember around 2010s is when I want to say we started to get high speed internet in my area. 2010? No, no, that's much too late. I started to have high speed internet while I was still in college, so it was before 2010. Never mind.
Wow, he's putting cubes together. Everybody gather around and watch.
Yeah, yeah, somehow him typing, and he can't even see what he's typing, but by hitting the keys is showing off what an amazing hacker he is. And as he hacks, these cubes are assembled, and everyone's really excited about this. And Bridger wants to leave, but Lucas is just dying to stay. And Lucas actually has a fair point here. All they're going to do is go around in circles tracking some whales, and he'd have a lot more fun and maybe even learn something here in this, you know, genius paradise. And Daniel wants to know, did Dorjo travel back in time to the Terran Empire, or is it yet another universe in the multiverse? I think she went back in time. And they are pointing out the fact that they haven't seen much in the way of chaperone in this area. And he says, we got 5 support staff plus this girl named Wendy, so they keep everyone well fed with pizza. It's crappy frozen pizza that's in a microwave, but hey, we've been there. Those Totino dollar pizzas are amazing when you're a college kid.
I say it's just like college underwater.
Yeah. In fact, Tuvox points that out. He says all the adults who came to work here, they went stir crazy. So instead, you have a bunch of kids come here, and all they want is pizza and to be able to play games. Which it's like, how is this not an issue with child labor laws in 1994, let alone 2018 at this point?
Yes, I think so.
And so now we're finding out the real things happening here with all these kids. Tuvok is giving him his sales pitch. He says, there's a lot of bad things in the world. Lucas, even you recognize the world sucks. If you had the power to make a difference, would you try? And Lucas says, yeah, absolutely. And so you hear the Seth Green character saying, hey, the money's moving now. We only have 50 seconds. So they're doing this countdown, trying to figure out what's going on with this money. And you find out that some money that had been earmarked to go to some relief aid in China was instead being rerouted to an offshore account in Geneva. Like they were embezzling the money. And so Tuvok was able to, at the last second, reroute this money into a random hospital in the middle of nowhere in China that will be able to use that money to actually buy vaccines and other medicines. And Lucas he's shocked. He said, well, aren't you going to get in trouble for stealing money? He goes, well, no. The money was already stolen. Who's he going to report it to? I'd say the mob. The mob would be my guess. The submarine mob?
The mob versus Tuvok.
Yeah.
I knew who my money's on there.
And I mean, it's not like the government ever engages in shadow operations in which people just disappear. Like I think that if you made a congressman mad who was embezzling a ton of money, millions of dollars, I think he might have a way to have you suddenly subpoenaed or suddenly killed.
Doing Epstein?
Yeah. I mean, he wouldn't even have to go that far out of his way. He would say, oh, yes, this was part of a covert operation. We had discovered that someone was stealing funds, and so we earmarked this money specifically for him to find, and we used it to find him. And then Tuvok would be in trouble, and he would get away scot-free. I mean, you remember the gun campaign, Fast and Furious? That Obama did, where he actually sold guns to drug cartels to track how the guns were getting to the drug cartels.
I missed that one.
Oh yeah. It was an interesting idea where they released a bunch of like identified guns into the market to try and track how they made it to these drug cartels. And it was a good idea, except they lost track of the guns, and but it still landed in the cartels.
Sure, nobody saw that coming.
So this is Lucas's love interest this week. Wearing a very fashionable 90s dress right there. Beige floral print. Such a 90s dress.
Because there was underwater 90s retro wave in 2018.
Oh yeah. They went right past the 70s wear into the 90s wear. Which I honestly saw some kids, not this year obviously, but last year, who were unironically wearing a bunch of 90s stuff thinking that they were being hip. And I'm like, oh no, no, go back to the 70s or come back to modern times. Just don't do 90s, I beg you. See, Springtime is saying, and that's why Matthew is no longer with the DEA. And Bradley's saying, it's so quiet when y'all aren't talking. It's kind of off-putting. Well, I'm sorry, Bradley. We'll try and talk more for you. But now I'm going to be quiet. But no, they're finding out what's going on with Mycroft right now. That something happened. He was with the government, but then he was like the best hacker out there, and he just burned out and disappeared for 3 years. And everyone keeps warning Lucas that he needs to stay away from the sushi. It just never warms up right in the microwave. Which, you're eating sushi wrong if you're warming it up in the microwave.
I say sushi in the microwave, that's just wrong.
Yeah. Like, the sushi is meant to be served fresh and cold, not warmed up in a microwave. And that must be why it keeps coming out bad. If they knew just to eat it the way it was, instead of heating it up, it would come out much better. Now, this is a fascinating sequence considering what we've been talking about tonight. As Mycroft has Lucas learned their system, he takes a look at Brazil and he tells him that the higher and more colored the peaks are, the more social unrest is going on in that area. And he wants them to search for voter fraud in Brazil. And all he has to do is pick one of the many instances of voter fraud happening in Brazil. And he finds out that, wouldn't you know it, there's cheating going on in the Brazilian elections, which, yes, may have been using Dominion software systems. But we're not talking about our stuff. And so he is redistributing the votes to where they were originally cast. And as he does this on-the-fly hacking, you see the chart levels start to level down. And not only does he get the votes to go who they are actually cast to, he leaves a virus behind to monitor the situation so that if they cheat in the future, they'll get caught and notify them. And Springtime is saying Professor Brainy Specs was in Brazil during the 2000 Civil War. I must have missed that one. Yeah, I know, Bradley. Or go on, John.
I was just saying Lucas is the man we needed in 2020.
And yes, Bradley, it is funny that we're showing this now with all the election hacking. It wasn't planned. It has nothing to do with modern events. But it was very, very surreptitious.
Yes. SeaQuest, always very relevant.
Very, very relevant. And so what's going on here is that Nick, who is the Seth Green character, was politely dismissed. And Janine here, she gives Lucas a kiss and says, well, good night. And then after half a second opens the door and is like, yeah, get in here. So in Lucas goes. Of course Lucas is going to go in. Which, this is what's really going on nonstop at a facility with no chaperones and a bunch of 17-year-olds. But while they're talking about everything going on, they reveal the fact that they hacked into the UEO and spoofed some codes. And that's how Lucas ended up here. That the data link, the message they got at the beginning of the episode never came from the UEO. It came from them. And even though it's extremely hard, somehow they were able to figure out. They said it's 40 digits long, which is laughable. Considering the fact that we now have 520-bit security, the fact that, 40 characters, 40 characters would have been WEP wireless security standards. So we've gotten a little bit better since then. But yes, Lucas was so shocked that you could get through a 40-character password. See, Professor Brainy Specs is saying, yes, Ace helped me out of some scrapes in Brazil. And Springtime is responding, if only they knew about Joe Biden and his uh, plug plan for America in 2020 SeaQuest failed badly. Yeah, that seems like it would fail badly. And now not to be done out by 3D chess, they're doing 3D something here, where by hacking they're able to challenge each other and do something with triangles. I don't know. The games in this section aren't overly well explained.
I think I had better games on my graphing calculator when I was in school.
Now, did you ever get any games like Tetris running on your TI-83?
Yes, I did. I had stuff like Tetris and Space Invaders and that kind of thing.
I'm very jealous. Not only did I have a knockoff Casio, when I finally did get a TI-83, I never could figure out how to get the that little audio cable plug hooked into my microphone. Like, I didn't have a microphone jack on my computer at the right times to be able to upload the code to have Tetris on my TI. I should do that now, just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And so now we're finding out that everything else they've been doing really has just been some prequel stuff. It's been behind the scenes stuff, minor league stuff. What they really want is to go after the World Bank Organization. You know, the ones run by the lizard people. And Springtime is saying Tim Russ's character is realizing that he picked poorly when it came to his army of hackers. Well, kids are impressionable. Like, this is the part where it's almost like a cult. He's invited them in, and at the same time, he has isolated them from all contact outside. Like, Lucas had a big monologue with Janine talking about the fact that his parents don't care about him and how, you know, even if he could contact them, they don't care. And so now that they're isolated, now that they've recreated a new family with the other cult members, now he's laying on the real objective to end all war, to bring about an end to all the injustices in society. And you find out that everyone here has tried to hack into the World Bank, and yet they've all failed. And that's why Lucas is here, because they think, or specifically Tuvok thinks, that Lucas will be able to succeed where they have failed. And Springtime is saying 2020, this plot makes no sense just in terms of the global political aspect. I mean, it's a decent enough plot.
Kind of a side note is sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go on.
Is the whole mouse ball in the middle of the keyboard, is that really a thing, or they just make that up for the show?
Goodness. I had a keyboard very similar to this, or my dad did. It was one of those split ones where instead of your normal home row key of characters, you were at a weird angle like this, and it was supposed to prevent carpal tunnel, but for me it just made it impossible to type anything. And I have seen ones that had the giant trackball in the center. I want to say it was done by Microsoft, one of their keyboards. But for the general plot, I do agree that Tim's idea here is just way off kilter. If you took over all the world banking stuff and you tried to control the money, all that would happen is, like, you would collapse the economies and people would go to war. Like you'd be blown out of the water so quick as soon as they found out that the money was being controlled by this one guy in the ocean. Like his life would be forfeit at that point. We're in. Springtime is saying, just an FYI, I personally think we should keep the Lucas jokes to a minimum out of respect for his actor, who unfortunately passed away a while back. I think I heard something about that, Springtime. And And while I respect your position on this, I'm still going to make Lucas jokes. I mean, no one is above being teased for how their character comes across, which is why I have made jokes about how he's kind of the Zachary Taylor Thomas of the show. Uh, but I'm not going to attack the person himself. I will attack, or not attack, I'll make fun of Lucas all day long. But the actual person who played Lucas, like, I'm not going to attack that guy. The same way with, like, Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. I'm going to ruthlessly make fun of Captain Marvel all day long. But I'm not going to attack Brie Larson, except to point out that she's a bit of a ditz. And I'll give plenty of citations for that, but I'm not going to attack her just because she had a bad role. Same for, like, Rose Tico. I'm not going to attack Kelly Marie Tran just because she had a crappy character. But I'll absolutely rip to shreds the crappy character. But we do get a touching phone call from Lucas's surrogate dad. And he's kind of wondering when Lucas is going to come back. But Lucas says he wants to stay there. And Bridger's pretty okay with this. Like, he's treating Lucas very much like a grown-up in this episode. And he's saying, yeah, that's fine, but you really need to tell your parents. Like, that's your responsibility. I'm not going to tell them for you. And it's interesting that this is one of the few times we see kind of a phone booth area. Like, usually everyone has has like a telephone in their quarters. But in this facility, they have a single phone booth to use.
I wonder if it has anything to do with them keeping them isolated from the world.
Right? Like, there was a lot of cultish things going on this episode. And I think that could have been an interesting take on it because there was a lot of cult-centric episodes at this time. There was a Boy Meets World episode around this time in which Sean fell into a cult. I don't know if you ever watched Boy Meets World, but one of their characters fell into a cult.
I don't think I watched that one.
Oh, it was a classic. I feel sorry for Seth Green's character in this, the Wolfman. Like, as soon as Lucas broke into the World Bank, Janine starts hugging and loving on Lucas. And poor Wolfman is like, I'm okay with being the third wheel. I know I'm being a little desperate, but I'm going to get in on this hug also. And he's just always being the third wheel throughout this episode. But the Wolfman and Lucas want to find out what Mycroft did. Like, what is his missing history? Where was he? How did he get silenced? What's the real story there? But they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. And by the way, you can't tell. It's the code. And apparently that's enough to convince her not to say anything. Bradley's is saying those mice ball keyboards are real and they sell mice that have thumb balls on them right now. My mom had one of those mice with the thumb balls, where instead of moving the mouse around, you're just constantly repeating this motion with your thumb. Like, that seems like a surefire way to get carpal tunnel. And Robert is saying, even in Game of Thrones, there was a bank like that not even the ruling families couldn't do much without money from them. It is an easy plot crutch to have the World Bank that even the rich people get their money from.
So Tuvok used to work for the CIA, apparently.
And FBI. He was working both camps. And you find out that his parents, or Tuvok's parents, were scared of him. Like, he was just so smart. And he's getting blocked out, so he, this is just the hacker jargon. You gotta go under the death net. I'm in. And they find out that Mycroft was working a hack to take down some Chinese counterintelligence agencies. But then something went wrong. And the thing that went wrong is that he killed someone. You know, not him directly, but he did somehow get someone killed. Mycroft was removed for the neutralization of an enemy asset. But of course, Tuvok finds out about them. And so he takes over all the screens and tells everyone to get out of the room, except for Wolfman and Frankenstein. And of course, Janine sticks around because why not? Springtime is saying he's just talking about the actor in case anyone wasn't aware. That probably came out wrong. Sorry. Well, don't worry about Springtime. I try to make it clear to everyone like where I stand, and I try to do it as politely as possible. But I did say that because if you were offended, I wanted you to know why I was doing this and where I draw the line. And we get the title of the episode. Tuvok brings up the guy he got killed and says, "I put a photon bullet inside his head." Which is a really, cool line. But then you find out what he meant by photon bullet, and it's like, oh, okay. He didn't mean he literally shot him with a bullet made of light. Yeah, a miniature photon torpedo? Not quite, Professor Brainy Specs. His job was to sneak inside the Chinese military computers and destroy their ability to fight back. But each time he got close, their programmers would be one step ahead of him and slam the door shut. So what he realized is that if he couldn't get in through the hardware, he should get in through the wetware. And this is actually something that we've done in real life. Not exactly what Tuvok is saying, but attacking the wetware instead of the hardware. So what Tuvok did is he intercepted all the communications between this random Chinese intelligence officer and his bosses, and he made it seem as if Tuvok was his bosses. And so he had the Chinese intelligence officer go in and kill this key target. And after he did it, he realized his mistake. And when he wouldn't give them specifics on how he did it, he was removed from the team. Now they actually did this in the war in Iraq, the more recent one. We released Stucknex, which was a computer virus designed to attack a specific PLC, the thing that I program all the time. And the way they did it was they knew that these nuclear reactors were too well secured for us to hack into directly. So at these big conferences, they would drop CDs with pamphlets and information on them that anyone could come up and grab. And of course, people came up and grabbed them. And that virus would be on the CD, and it would replicate itself into any computer the CD was read on, and then it would copy itself onto any USB key or hard drive or any sort of media, well, except obviously optical media, that you inserted into your computer. And by doing that, they were able to get the virus into the Iranian nuclear reactor facilities. And they were able to attack this specific PLC such that on the interface level, it looked like everything was fine, but behind the scenes, they were ramping these pumps up and down rapidly until the pumps literally screwed themselves out. Like the rotating part literally just tore itself to shreds. And that way, the facility was forced to shut down, and we were able to shut down their nuclear facilities without actually blowing them up, such that we could come in later and with minimal effort repair the damage and get things up and going again. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So once they find out this about Tuvok, he really lets them know what he wants to do with the world money, or with the money from the World Bank. And Lucas is a little less buying into the cult mentality now. That he's concerned that by doing this, Tuvok is just seeking revenge against the people who hurt him in the past. And so he's like, what do we do? What should I do? I'm worried that I'm going to hurt someone. Not physically, but I'm worried that I'm still going to hurt them. And Bridger gives a decent father line about how uh, the the way we impact people are what we leave behind in our life. And he gives a vote of support for Lucas. Like without Lucas really giving him any details, Bridger communicates to him that he trusts in Lucas and he trusts Lucas to make the right choice. Let's see. Springtime is asking, so they didn't have drone strikes in the 2010s? Apparently not. Well, and you have a hard time getting a drone over China. We were able to pull it off in the Middle East, but things are a little tighter in China. And Tuvok is kind of going cultish at this point, talking about how we're going to turn this web of blood into the light of morality. And they want to initiate the codes to start taking over the World Bank and take over all the finances of every country in the world. And you can see as they get the nodes online, things start to turn green. Let's see. Bradley's saying Neelix leaving Voyager when he got married really messed with me. I love his character. I actually liked Neelix too. I thought he was kind of a fun. He was kind of the McCoy to Tuvok. But as they're doing this, they're realizing that they're in over their heads. Even though they can take over individual nodes, taking over the entire network is too unstable. And all they're going to do is cause everything to crash, which is going to send the world into anarchy. And so they're like, we can't do this. And Lucas says, you're right. I'm going to put a stop to this. So even though it looks like things are starting to go well, that Tuvok is getting control of all the World Bank's transaction networks, Lucas is about to step in and stop everything. And sure enough, Lucas shuts everything down. All the screens are off. Daniels is saying, have I ever seen the 90s series Animorph? I read the books. I was a huge Animorph fan. It was real sad how they ended the main line of books after however many years they did. Which I won't ruin it for anyone who hasn't watched or read these 2-decade-old books. But the way they ended it, I wasn't super happy about. But somehow Tuvok is able to bring up one of the workstations, even though everything was shut down. And Tuvok and Lucas are starting to go head to head in a hacker fight, which one of them really needs to have some sunglasses on to make this work.
There's a furious key tapping. You hear it going on in the background.
And as they're hacking, they're also having an oral debate against each other, where Lucas is talking about how, you have to face up to the world's problems. You have to do it face to face. You can't just take things over from behind the scenes. And Tuvok is, you're a child. You don't know anything about pain. I'm going to make everything right. And Lucas saying, no, I'm not going to let you take any more. And so he and Tuvok are going back and forth, back and forth. He gets it shut down, but then Tuvok just flips out and starts to choke Lucas out. And, we're all on the edge of our seats, and Wolfman gets the bright idea to load up the picture or video loop of the Chinese agent killing the other Asian officer. And Lucas is saying the reason this affected you so much is because you were able to see his face and you knew who he was. You had to learn this lesson the hard way, but we don't have to. We don't want to hurt anyone. Tuvok is saying, well, is it really wrong to want to help? Well, no, it's not wrong. It's just you're hiding behind the machines. To you, it's just a magic trick, moving photons around. Let's see. Daniel's saying, I remember seeing the show when I was a kid. How did it end? Oh, I never saw the TV show, Daniel. No, I only saw I only read the book series of Animorphs. Bradley's saying they win, happy ending, don't want to ruin it. Well, I'm glad the TV series had a good happy ending. The books was more of a it was kind of no one won. Like we won, but at the same time it was a high cost, and then it ended with, and by the way, there's some other things going on, and the Animorphs went to go take care of that. Commodore Ty is saying, I hope you have the pub tomorrow. I really look forward to it. So, Commodore Ty, I'm probably not going to do the pub tomorrow night, but I will be doing it on Sunday night. I will, as I try to figure out my schedule a little bit better this week, I will put out a tweet on whichever day I'm going to do it. So you can either follow me over on Twitter, and I'll be sure to let you know when I'm doing it there, or you can jump into my Discord server, and I let everyone on the Discord server know when it's going on there as well. You get notifications. And always, you can subscribe to me, Life with Matthew, on YouTube. Be sure to click that notification bell to be notified of every new video I put up. So Lucas wants Janine to come with him, and she's real jealous because Mycroft is gonna hitch a ride on SeaQuest, but she says she can't come. She's just the flavor of the week, and she has to take care of the people here at the facility until Mycroft's replacement arrives. Because this place wasn't supposed to be a cult run by Tuvok. This place was supposed to be the central data node to transmit all telecommunications through the Pacific. See, Professor Brady Specs is saying one problem that Bird pointed out is that I'll have heavy competition on Sunday night. Yeah, you're right about that, and he's right about that. I guess I should say, but I kind of need to do that just so that my stream schedule works a little bit better. Because right now, it's Tuesday, Wednesday. It's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, and then nothing else. So I'm hoping that by spreading things out just a little bit, I'm able to keep the SeaQuest streams going every week and the virtual pub every week. And Matthew Kersnick, how are you doing, Matthew? Is this on Peacock? Yes, it is, Matthew. This is on Peacock TV, or Peacock.tv. And you can watch all these in one quick go, or you can watch them week by week with us. So Mycroft once again hacked the UEO codes to get a free lift on SeaQuest. And now that Lucas is back, he's getting his salary, but it's not quite what he was hoping for. And as we get our outro, we find out that the highways of tomorrow are being built right now using fiber, which, yeah, they're great. We love them. We kind of need even more fiber lanes, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this internext is really going to be a big thing.
Oh, yeah. They really need to kind of get the graphics issue resolved. Everything was kind of really high polygon count, or very low polygon count, excuse me. Lots of triangles and squares. But if they can get that worked out, I do think that internext will really be amazing. Well, that is this week's episode. How did you like it, John?
It was not bad. Could have used more Darwin, though.
No, nothing could use more of that seahorse thing. The horse of the sea. See, the problem is there is a seahorse creature, but I want to bring in the fact that Cinnabon hates horses, and I hate Darwin so much. Whatever. I hate Darwin. That's what I'm going for here. Less Darwin. But beyond that, what was your favorite part of the episode?
Well, I like that the Tuvok wasn't really evil. He really wanted to do the right thing, but he was just wasn't going about it the right way.
I
think
Oh, go on.
Sorry, is that I tend to be more interested in quote unquote villains who are really think they're right, but they're just misguided, as the ones who are just being evil because they're evil.
Oh yeah, the stereotypical snidely whiplash, mustache twirling villain. It can be fun sometimes, but I definitely do enjoy the more nuanced character. I mean, honestly, I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but honestly, the main villain of it wasn't very interesting. Like, just wanting to take over the whole universe. Okay, because I'm kind of lonely, even though I've had all these relationships with all these women, and I have killed all of my children except you so far. It's like that's not a very interesting characters. You know, same with Iron Man's first villain, Jebediah.
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane. That's it. You know, he was just like, I'm evil. I want money. Okay, and like on that level, Whiplash was a more interesting character because he actually cared on a personal level uh, about what Tony Stark was doing. And Killmonger, or not Killmonger, the main villain in Black Panther, was it Killmonger?
Yes.
Okay, he was interesting. I thought his final little thing about, you know, my people knew to jump off the boat was kind of a dumb line, but beyond that, I thought he had an interesting character. And you know, Tuvok was the same way, that he was the villain of the episode, but he wasn't villainous. He was just making the wrong choices.
I also like that Bridger is a really good dad figure for Lucas because we've seen that develop over the course of the season.
Yeah. I mean, Bridger is a good surrogate dad, and Dr. Westphalen is such a good surrogate mom that until recently, like until I started to rewatch this show, I thought that was his mom. Like I watched the whole series as a kid thinking that was his mom on the ship. And John, was Darwin really an animatronic?
Yes, he was.
I am impressed. They did a great job making him look realistic.
I know a lot of people think it was a real dolphin.
Oh yeah, I definitely did. Except the CGI parts. I didn't think that part was real. But whenever you just see him swimming around, I definitely thought that was a real dolphin. Huh. See, Daniel wants to know, did I hear that Spider-Man 3 will be a multiverse movie and Tobey Maguire and William Dafoe Green Goblin will return with Alfred Molina Doc Ock? How confirmed is this, Daniel? I hadn't heard any of this. Honestly, I'm like I am the worst conspiracy person out there. Like there it takes a ton of evidence for me to believe in something. Which doesn't make me for a fun person to talk movie theories and scuttlebutt with. I freely confess. Which is why when you're on the pub, Daniel, you need to talk more. You have all these fun nuggets of rumors and information. And I know a lot of people love that, and I lack the ability to talk about that. So you need to jump in there and tell us to shut up more, because we talk too much when you're on, Daniel. Yes, more Darwin for Matthew. Matthew, no, thank you. No, thank you, Professor. Matthew Kernsnick is saying, didn't the actor who played Lucas commit suicide in reality? Matthew, I don't remember if it was suicide, but I do know that he recently-ish did die. I want to say, oh, John's saying yes, he did commit suicide. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Was that this past year, or was that 2019, 2018?
I think it was a few years ago.
Okay. Well, that is sad to hear. And someone else earlier in the chat was mentioning it too, that he had recently died. And that is disappointing. I am sorry to hear that anyone commits suicide. Actually, my cousin committed suicide. Oh, how many years ago was it now? A little over a decade ago. And I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons I started the pub, is because whenever I thought about how isolated everyone was, I couldn't stand it. And I know that there's been a lot of impact on mental health over the past year. And what can you do about it? The government's saying you're not allowed to socialize. You have to be isolated. And I feel like we have hurt more people by isolating than we ever could have saved. And if you recall back at the beginning of all this, the whole point was to uh, to slow the curve. So it was never going to be we're going to prevent people from dying. They from the beginning they said everyone who's going to die is going to die. We just want to slow the rate that they go into the hospital so that our hospitals don't get overwhelmed. And I think they were right from the very beginning. I do think that everyone who was going to get this was going to get this. There was no decreasing the death toll. That was never on the table. And all that we've done by forcing people to isolate is make people feel just alone and vulnerable and like they have nowhere to turn. And as a result, I do think that everyone who has committed suicide, or not everyone, but I do think that there has been a dramatic increase in suicide that never would have happened had we not isolated people the way that we've isolated people. And I think it's criminal. And so that's very much the reason I started to do these virtual pubs, because I want us to have a place where we can hang out, where we can have fun, and where people get to have those connections. Even if they're long distance, even if they're virtual, just having that ability to connect is very much the reason why I started to do that. And I started to do this stream because I love SeaQuest, and I found out that John is really knowledgeable in SeaQuest. And I said, well, let's get this party going then.
Then you saw Darwin and you regretted it.
I did. Oh my goodness, that first episode was such a good episode, but the pacing just crawled to a stop when Darwin gets on. It's like, oh my goodness, just end this. So yeah, that all came because we're talking about villains that are three-dimensional and how much we like them. Uh, I did like this episode a lot. I thought that this is one of those episodes where they really make you think about who's in the right. Like clearly they come down with Tim's character being in the wrong. And I think a TNG take on it may have been to leave it more open-ended than we did in SeaQuest, but this is very much something that I could see going on in TNG. In fact, in the episode where you had the two planets, where the one planet was a race of farmers, slave laborers basically, who were addicted to a drug created by the second planet. And at the end of the episode, Picard chooses to let the addicted people have one last shipment of drugs, but not fix their ships. So from then on out, both the planets are going to be 100% isolated, and the drug people are going to have a crazy time coming off of their addiction. But the other planet has no agriculture, has no way to produce food, and they're going to have an even more rough time. So like those two episodes really made me like this episode and that episode of TNG really like kind of connected to me, because we're presented with the situation in which what's going on is wrong, but they present it in such a way where it really makes you think about how their actions are impacting people. Like, is it more morally right to stop what's going on, or should you let Tim's character take over the entire world banking system so that people who need the money get the money, and no longer are we funding wars? In fact, I saw a really great discussion where someone pointed out, like, look, you have two people who disagree with each other on a lot of things. You have one person who believes that abortion is murder. You have another person who believes that war is murder. And you have a third person who believes that the death penalty is murder. And while they may disagree individually on which of these is murder, they all agree that one of those three things is murder. And yet, the government funds all three of those things. And so the government is funding at least one thing that all three of them believe is murder. And he was trying to use that for, why he personally was more of a libertarian than a Republican or a Democrat. And I thought it was a very interesting argument. And Tuvok kind of made the same argument, that the money was being used to do things that everyone could agree at some level was murder. Like, no matter where your stance was, the money was at some point going to be used to do something you consider to be murder. And isn't it morally right to stop murder? I do agree that it was right to stop what Tuvok was doing, because he wasn't going to be successful at all. Like, all he was going to do is crash everything, destroy all the internet nodes, and now there's no more money being transferred, there's no more communications going around, and all that's going to happen is war is going to break out. But it is an interesting philosophical question, that if you had the power to fix it, should you fix it?
Of course, then who decides what's considered fixed or not? Because you ask 50 people, have 50 different opinions on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. And like Firefly put it, the core of systems believe they could make people better. And I disagree with that. I don't think you can make people better. I think you can give them the tools, but at the end of the day, they have to choose who they're going to be. And you can't make people choose to be better people. Daniel wants to know, do I still have a Nintendo GameCube? Yes, I do. And have I ever played Scooby-Doo Night of 101 Frights? I have not. Uncle Remus is saying, if he dies, he dies? Uncle Remus, I am 5 minutes behind in the chat, and I have already forgotten what we were talking about for that reference. But how are you doing, Uncle Remus? I haven't seen you around in a long time. I hope you're doing well. Matthew is saying he's getting his new Origin-built computer near Xmas. Yay! And by the way, I'm also Admiral Saval. Oh, Matthew, I knew that. Ah, wow. I'm so sorry. I knew that. And I even recognized the photo of the dog in your picture. I know that he passed away this year. And I hope you're doing well with that. But yeah, I should have known that. I'm sorry, Admiral Saval. I just didn't make the connection for some reason. But I hope that your new computer is a very good one. Professor Brain Specs is saying he should have waited a couple months, would have gotten a better computer for probably less money. Maybe, but hey, I'm glad you're getting a new computer. It's always fun to have new IT stuff. Which I have a new camera. I hope that it's looking nice. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's definitely giving me a better quality than my old one was giving.
And Jeff's pointing out we were a little bit off. It was when the actor died. Apparently, it was 2003.
Are you serious? It was that long ago?
I didn't realize it was that long ago, but apparently so.
Oh my goodness. That was a crazy long time ago. Wow. I'm still very sad that he did that. And yeah, we're talking about that. It's just, you never know who's struggling with this stuff. I mean, Robin Williams killed himself by hanging. One of the guys that you ask for someone who's funny, and people from my generation, we're going to come up with a standard list of people, and somewhere on that list, you're probably going to have Robin Williams. Maybe you liked him as Mork. Maybe you liked him in one of his later roles, but Robin Williams was a guy who was just funny and fun to be around. And the fact that he would take his life, it shows how you never know where people are. And it's just horrible when people feel so isolated that they feel like they have nowhere to turn. Hey, LGG Pixels, how are you doing tonight? Glad to see that you're here. Matthew saying he couldn't wait. My current unit is about to kick the bucket. CPU socket is failing. Oh, I thought I said falling for a second. Yeah, failing. Yeah, so I got me a oh, what is this guy? It is a MSI laptop, which I got it a year ago for work because I needed something that was powerful enough to run several virtual machines at once. Because I go out to the middle of nowhere, and I have to have all my stuff with me at all the times. And you never know what combination of systems people are going to have on their work sites. So I got this, and at the same time, while it is my work computer, it's also beefy enough for me to be able to do things like this, and I'm very thankful for it because otherwise I would have to drop money and build my own system again, and I just don't want to build a system right now, you know. And holy crap, Admiral Savol, 8,000 for your system. I hope it is a beefy system. And Bradley's saying, "You sure that isn't supposed? The seven isn't supposed to be a one? What did you buy? A NASA computer? Yeah, that's an impressive system, or an impressive cost for what I hope to be is an impressive system." Uh, Daniel's saying that they will erase the sequel trilogy with the Ashoka TV series. What? Oh, are you talking? You're talking about Rise of the Jedi or Return of the Jedi? No, Rise of the Force Awakens. Wow, I have blocked these movie titles out of my brain so well. The first Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. There we go. I'm fine with that. I really am. Those movies were botched, Daniel, and mainly because of the Last Jedi. Um, if Ryan Johnson hadn't been in some weird pissing match with J.J. Abrams, I think they could have had a fun series. But for some reason, those two guys were just the whole time fighting each other.
Also, I seriously doubt that Disney is just going to erase the sequel trilogy. Maybe
True.
maybe they might downplay it a little bit, but they're not going to admit that they messed up a whole trilogy.
Very true. Like, and you know what, John, you're right because I could very much see them more of recontextualizing the sequel series as opposed to outright like erasing it. Thanos snapping it away. Well, what about bad things in this episode, John? Was there anything you didn't particularly like?
Well, we did make a lot of fun of the graphics and their projections about the internet.
Internex.
Internet. Sorry, I got that last letter wrong. Yeah, that's kind of a little silly to watch these days. Well, in general, I like the story. But honestly, it's the most important part. Because I wouldn't like the original series if I had a problem with goofy effects.
True. Yeah, there's really not anything standing out to me of something I really disliked in this episode. Um, it was a fun plot. I I guess my only critique would be the opening sequence that made Lewis feel dejected, made him feel unwanted, uh, was a little forced. Like it was comedic. I enjoyed the fact that every time he turned around, he was bumping into yet another person. Like that was funny. But just that this was the episode where they needed Lucas to feel like he was rejected. I feel like they could have had a better way of doing that. And I think the better way of doing that would have been to have him have some conflict specifically with Bridger. Maybe really lean into the idea that he's only wanted when there's a computer problem. Like have Bridger kick him off the bridge for being underfoot and then call him back a little bit later when there was a computer issue, such that Lucas is really feeling underappreciated. And then that turns into the things I really liked about the episode, where they did a great job making Lucas feel welcomed in this hacker community. Like like it was a believable commune of kids, in my opinion. Like that's kind of what I would expect to see. A lot of goofing off, a lot of playing, a lot of romances going on in the dorm rooms. You know, exactly what you would expect kids to be doing when you only have half a chaperone keeping attention on you. But in terms of bad things, it really wasn't. It was a good episode. I liked it. And I also like you said earlier, John, the dynamic that you have of Bridger being this surrogate father for Lucas. Like this episode really did a good job of expanding that and having Bridger legitimately respect Lucas. Like in TNG, you would have an episode where Picard kind of opened up to Wesley, like the episode where Wesley was flying Picard to go have his heart transport or his heart checked out, and then he and Wesley end up crashing the shuttle somewhere, and they meet up with a third guy. Shenanigans happen. But after that episode, you'd go right back to Picard kind of, shut up, Wesley, and the relationship would kind of rubber band back a little bit. But with Bridger, I really feel like they've done a good job building up this dynamic between the two of them. And this episode did a great job expanding that. Let's see, and Matthew is saying, not me, Matthew, other Matthew, gonna stream my new computer unboxing when it gets here with his iPad. It's gonna have a Ryzen 9, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and an RX 6900 XT. That is a nice system. Mine is, let's see, I went with a Core i7 9th gen for mine. And I did that because the i9 runs too hot in laptops, and you end up getting speeds throttled below i7. So you go with an i7 in a laptop, at least for the 9th generation, and you'll actually end up getting better performance than an i9 in the laptop. And then I have the GeForce RTX 2080 in my system, which if I ever wanted to, I could get a external graphics card, like with USB-C, which technically Lightning Bolt is this one, but with the Lightning port, I could get an external GPU and upgrade my system that way. But to do that would run around $3,000, and I might as well just get a brand new system for that price, Daniel is saying, what happened to Anti-Trucker? I hear he has computer problems. Does Skynet possess his computer? I think so, Daniel. So humorously, I have spent this weekend making a video on comparing XSplit OBS and Streamlabs OBS. And I take through the process of installing it, through capturing a game, through adding in a webcam and deleting out a green screen. And then I talk about pros and cons, additional features, all that kind of stuff. And while I've been doing all this, it's been kicking my butt. Just nonstop for some reason. I can't get the stupid video finished because of how often something's gone wrong with it. But while I made the video, I talked about XSplit's a good program, very few issues, and no sooner do I get done recording all my stuff, then Anti-Trucker has had nonstop issues with his XSplit for some reason. And Professor Brain Specs is saying, I want to see the video you're making, Jeff. I hope to have that done in the next day or two here. I am getting near the finishing mark. It's going to be around half an hour. I really went in depth on this one, and hopefully it comes out well, because there's always the risk that you get done and you're like, well, this is a steaming pile of crap, but I'm going to send it up on my channel anyway because I put in a week's worth of work on this, and I'm not just going to let it sit on my hard drive.
Sounds like it'd be a very useful video.
I hope so. And Matthew is saying that he got a beagle puppy, a girl, and he named her Tasha Yar. That is fun. Beagles are a fun breed.
Keep her away from oil slicks.
Yes. Yeah. Too soon. No, I hated Tasha. She was my second least favorite character in TOS, or excuse me, TNG. With obviously my least favorite being Marina Sirtis's Deanna Troi. Hated Deanna Troi. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on this channel before.
You know what, Matthew? I'm sensing some hostility.
Yes, aren't you? Aren't you, John? They're firing photon torpedoes at us. I sense hostility. Oh, Captain Jellicoe needed to be on that ship so sooner. Professor is saying if it's a steaming pile of crap, put it on AT's channel. It will fit right in. Oh, harsh. I wish you could do GIFs in the YouTube chat. There are so many times someone says something when a GIF would just be the perfect response. I don't know. YouTube needs to get on the ball. They also need to fix it where in the Discord app on my phone, I can do an @ symbol and quickly tag someone. In YouTube, for some reason, you can't tag people in the app. You can only do it on the computer. I blame lazy coding. And that's also very true. Bradley Briggs is pointing out that if you go to another planet, make sure it's okay for your beagle to go down. You might get it deathly sick. Excuse me, you might get deathly sick, and you might have to do a crazy ceremony with a chainsaw. Okay, that part might actually be awesome. But you still could get your dog sick. And then Matthew is saying that to top it all off, he's going to get 2 Corsair hard drives, right around 2 terabytes, and a RAID 1 with 2 Western Digital Black 4 terabyte hard drives. That is a lot of space. I do not keep that much space on my laptop. I have 3 terabytes in total, most of which is taken up by my virtual machines. And then I have a network attached storage, which would be that direction if you're looking at my screen. And in that one, I have a little bit more space, but that's where I have to, back up projects. And on that one, I'm using. It's not a true RAID, like we would have a number for it, but at the end of the day, it allows 2 hard drives to fail, and you can quickly put it back in and recover your hard drives. Bradley's saying the motherboard alone can cost like $500 with those kinds of parts going into it. Yeah, it's a lot of money to make computers. I do think though, I do think you probably could have made this with the same specs for maybe a little bit cheaper. I haven't heard too much about the Origin brand before. I want to say I've heard a little bit about it, that they are a good brand, but hey, you know what? At least buying from them, if something goes wrong, you got the warranty. And for a lot of people, that's worth spending a little bit more to make sure that you have yourself covered or have your investment covered. Now, for me, I'm too much of a cheapskate. I freely admit it. I would much sooner let something kick the bucket and save the cost than do a warranty. The one exception, of course, being the house. You got to have a home insurance. And Tiki of Doom, how are you doing? They call him Flipper, faster than lightning. Yeah, I would prefer Flipper over Darwin any day of the week. And Robert is saying, wonder how much Big Blue cost? Is it outdated yet? Are you talking about the Discovery Channel ocean documentary show? Or is there another Big Blue that I'm unfamiliar with? Is that my mini fridge making that oxygen machine sound I'm hearing? Rats, you guys can hear that? No. What that is, Bradley, and I apologize for that. It is my register, my ear register. The heater kicks on and it gets way too hot in my room here. the office, and so I've shut off the vent. The problem is every time the heater kicks on, with the vent shut, you get this high-pitched squeal. I'm honestly not sure how I can... I'm not sure how I could close off that register and not have the high-pitched squeal. The best I can do is I could open it a little bit, but then it heats up my office here. Wow, you can actually hear that. I guess I could try to adjust my microphone so it is more downward. Bear with me here. I can try and do that. It kind of blocks my view here a little bit more, and I forgot to get rid of my text there. Usually Thomas is around to tell me, Matthew, you still have the text on the screen. But anyway, hopefully me turning this down a little bit will prevent the microphone from picking it up quite as much. Bradley, I can also try to do some stuff in StreamYard to maybe cut down on the higher end. They do allow you to do some audio compression stuff. So thanks for letting me know that you can hear it. I'll try and make sure on future streams that I've brought that noise out of here. Well, guys, we have been going a little bit longer than we usually do, but I've been having fun hanging out with everyone tonight, and I'm horrible about doing that. But let's go ahead and wrap it up here. John, do you have any final thoughts before we end things for the night?
Just be glad to be able to do SeaQuest every week.
Me too. Very, very glad to be doing that. You know, if Sunday night does end up being too problematic, I don't know, maybe we could try doing this on a Monday night instead. I know Anti-Trekker streams on Monday night, but you know, we kind of get a late start anyway, so he might be coming to the end of his stream when we're starting our stream as it is. So I don't know, we'll talk about this. We'll think about maybe some different times if it turns out where the virtual pub just doesn't have anyone watching it anymore. Part of the fun is to have y'all guys on here and watching it and being part of it. And Pano Dean, hey, how you doing? Saying, well, let me chime in and say hi before you say bye. Thanks for stopping by, Piano Dean. And with that, guys, we will go ahead and say goodbye to everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us for another SeaQuest Tuesday. I look forward to seeing y'all next week at the same time, unless we decide to move it up to 9. But, you know, I'll send out a tweet. We'll let you guys know. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please share it. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that bell icon to be kept up to date with all the new videos that I release on this channel. And as always, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.